Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bottom Line Show. I am your host, Mihran Kalaydjian. As Los Angeles approaches a pivotal election, voters deserve clear solution and accountable leadership. Joining us today with Mayoral Candidate Adam Miller to discuss the path forward for our city. Let's get to the bottom line. And Adam, welcome to the bottom line.
Thank you for having me. Happy
My,
to be here.
my pleasure. My first question is going to be around the leadership and the credibility. And the question is, what is the toughest decision you've made as a leader, one that carried real consequences? And what did you learn from it that prepares you to govern a city as complex as Los Angeles?
So, this is a tough question for me because I've had a lot of leadership experiences. I was the CEO of a company that became a large public company. It started in my apartment and grew to 3,000 employees across 25 countries. And we built Cornerstone into the largest education company in the world. I have run multiple nonprofits as chairman and as CEO. And I've been very involved founding corporations and nonprofits and scaling them up to large organizations, having real impact domestically and internationally, and especially in Los Angeles. So I have a lot of options to choose from, but I would say one of the hardest ones was when I started Cornerstone.
Mm,
About 2 years in, we had a vision for what we wanted to do that was serving adults using the internet to help adults get better educated, whether it was for their job or for their career or for personal development. And one of the challenges we had is that while we were relatively undercapitalized and small, the internet bubble burst. And this is back in 2001. There was back in 2000, there was a belief that it would be very hard to grow a technology company in that environment. And a lot of people told us we had to cut the business, cut our staff. And what we decided to do is transform what we were doing based on the environment, based on the situation, and focus really on adults, not as individuals at home, what we call consumers, but as employees within corporations. And so we shifted the business to really focus on B2B software, what's called enterprise software. And that proved to be the right decision, but had a lot of consequences. We had another big challenge only a year later when September 11th happened. Also, a lot of pressure, cut the business back, and really think about changing or almost hibernating what we were doing. But we decided that wasn't an option. I wanted to build something to last that was going to have real impact. And we decided to push forward. It had a lot of consequences around investment and where we focused and how we utilized the limited budget we had. But we were able to make the most of it and build a great business. And I think it's very applicable to a city that has financial challenges where you have to learn how to optimize budgets, how to live within your means, and drive results based on effective performance and operations and not just on hope.
wow. My second question it is to do from the voters' perspective. What should voters trust that you can succeed where multiple administrations have struggled to deliver results?
Well, I think you have to look at people's track record. And I have a track record of delivering results. So whether we're talking about Cornerstone becoming a multinational, multi-billion dollar business and the largest education company in the world, or Team Rubicon growing from a few Marines to the top veteran service organization and one of the top disaster relief organizations in the world doing missions all over the country and internationally to help people with disaster readiness, disaster response, and disaster recovery. Or we're talking about the intern initiative I started after George Floyd was murdered to help bring opportunity to 18 to 24-year-olds in South and East LA who were maybe blocked from getting into or didn't have access to some of the best job opportunities in the city. The goal was 1,000 internships for that population. And since then, we've done over 2,000 internships. So very successful program. I built the UCLA food allergy program. I built one of the largest food allergy nonprofits, not just in the country, but in the world. And with Better Angels, we've really started to transform the way we deal with the homelessness epidemic in this city. So these are real results across multiple different areas. There's other things I've done as well. What's common in each is I was the leader and I was responsible for growing and scaling and aligning the organization to deliver results. And I've done it time and again. And I've done it in the corporate world and I've done it in the nonprofit world. And I believe I can do it in the government as well and make this a city that works for the people, where government works better so that people can live better.
Wow. So I'm going to gear now to the budget and physical reality. As you know, our budget is disaster.
Yes.
We are in a huge deficit. Our services has been cut. So my question is, the city faces structural deficits and growing pension obligations. What services are you willing to cut to balance the budget?
Look, I think you have to first decide who is best at managing budgets. So I have experience with finance, accounting, running a public company, dealing with complex regulatory and compliance requirements, and managing budgets big and small across multiple initiatives. And what is common is you have to live within your means. You have to be able to optimize the financial situation that you're in. And we've not done that. We are not living within our means. As you know, we've had many tax increases over the years in LA. We also are not just paying the most taxes in the country, but getting terrible service delivery on top of that. So that's not a great combination for any of the residents, where you pay the most in taxes and you get the worst services. If it was a business, we'd be out of business. That's not how you operate. And so we need to bring back operational excellence. We need to learn how to have fiscal responsibility, and we need to optimize what we're given. Right now, I'll give you a few different examples. If you look at the Olympics upcoming, I talk to people that are on the Olympic Committee that are working on the project, and the reality is that people are really concerned that the Olympics are going to be a big cost expense, a big expense for the city. It's going to increase the deficit. But if we look back to prior Olympics or how certain other cities have dealt with it, especially if they've done it well, the Olympics are a great revenue opportunity for a city. It actually creates a budget surplus and creates opportunity. A lot of this is about management, right? How do you manage operations? How do you manage programs? If you look at how we're delivering our services in the homelessness arena, for example, we're being extremely inefficient in how the city is operating relative to the county. There's a lot of duplicity, there's a lot of redundancy, and there are a lot of ways to leverage public-private partnerships to drive much more efficiency and spend less money. If we look at housing, we are using public dollars to construct housing in a super inefficient way, right? We're spending for affordable housing on average $800,000 a unit. It's taking 5 to 7 years to build a single unit of affordable housing. Not only is that absurd, it's not scalable and it's not sustainable. We should be leveraging the private sector. We should be enabling the private sector to better, more quickly build housing, both affordable housing and market rate housing, to build supply and lower the cost of rent. All of these things are feasible, and most of those things cost less money, not more money. And I'll add one other piece, which is innovation. There is much more we could do to drive innovation in this city, to leverage automation, to simplify tasks, to leverage process re-engineering, all things that corporations do every day to be more efficient and drive more results. And we're not doing any of it.
Wow.
But we can. And I would ensure that happens.
Wow. So I'm going to shift to public safety and enforcement. This is still under dark shadow. The solutions have not worked. My question will be, do you support a stronger enforcement of quality of life laws, such as encampment restrictions, public drug use, and retail theft, even if critics call it criminalization of poverty?
Look, there shouldn't be a conflict or a contradiction between safety and enforcement and compassion and humanity. These things should work together, not separately. In fact, that's why we call my homeless organization Better Angels, because we want people to rely on their better angels. If you talk about an issue like homelessness, you get typically two contradictory responses from residents. There's anger and compassion. You have both. And we want to take that anger and have people volunteer in a compassionate way to deliver real results and get people off the streets, which is what everybody wants. It's what the unhoused individuals want and what the residents, the homeowners, and renters want. Everybody's on the same page. We're just not enabling it to happen. The same thing's true with public safety. If you look at public safety across the city, it is arguably the number one issue. People do not feel safe today in Los Angeles. And that's a shame, right? Yes, homicides are down, but property crime is way up. People are getting burglarized all the time. And their response times are slow. We don't have enough police officers. They're spending too much time doing paperwork. They're not given enough time on patrol. We're not leveraging technology. We're not simplifying processes to enable the law enforcement personnel to be on the street protecting the community. All of that is feasible. This does not require incremental budgets necessarily to do some of these things. It's about operational efficiency. And all of this is entirely possible. In fact, there are things we can do around surveillance and investigative resources that are actually cheaper than what we do today and higher quality. So some of this is accepting what things don't work and making changes. It's what I've had to do in business many, many, many times. Just because you've invested in a particular area and you've worked for a while on a particular program, if it's not working, you have to accept reality and make changes and do things differently. And that's exactly what I would do across the spectrum. By the way, public safety also includes safety in general from natural disasters.
Yeah.
And people, given the fires, don't feel safe. They don't feel like we were ready. They don't feel like we responded effectively, and they don't feel like we're recovering quickly. And what I learned at Team Rubicon is equally important as the responses, you have to also understand what you did right and wrong after the fact, right? What's the after action report? What's the post-mortem on the incident? because that's how you learn. That's how you get better. And being in a city where people are watering down reports or changing information is the antithesis of that philosophy. You're not going to get better if you don't admit the truth. You have to have transparency, you have to have accountability, and that's how we have results that help people feel safe, get protected, and enjoy their lives in the city.
LAPD is also another issue in the city of Los Angeles. They've been under fire. They are not receiving enough support. Would you increase LAPD staffing levels? And if so, where will the funding come from?
Well, I already told you, we could do a much better job of operational efficiency
Yeah.
and fiscal discipline and budgetary management. And by doing that, we can free up resources for what is important, right? Number one, we have to have basic services in the city. The streetlights have to work. The roads shouldn't have potholes everywhere. The sidewalks should not be broken all over the city. We can do a better job on all those fronts. Number two, when it comes to staffing, we don't do a great job of recruiting in this city. We're understaffed in sanitation, in police, in fire, in emergency management, and all of that can be addressed to have better recruitment, better engagement, better retention, all things that I learned a tremendous amount about as I built a company from 1 person to 3,000 people. You don't do that without understanding HR and recruitment and employee engagement and retention.
While I'm talking to you, Adam, there is actually the charter reform going on, and we have a very deep problem in our ethics and city hall reform. Corruption scandals have eroded trust in city hall. What concrete reforms would you implement to prevent pay-to-play politics?
Yeah, there's many things we have to do. I would say at the highest level, we need a culture of transparency and accountability. Because at the end of the day, a lot of this is cultural. You see this in business, you see this at nonprofits, you see this in government. If you have an environment where this kind of behavior is tolerated, then you end up with the results we have: multiple indictments, people in prison coming straight from City Hall. We have FBI investigations going on constantly, including today. And there is a better way. There is a better way. A culture of accountability, a culture of transparency doesn't allow for this kind of behavior and prevents it from occurring. We also need more laws, but it's not just about the regulations. It's about the attitude and the culture. And I know how to fix that. I know how to operate in that environment. I was a public company CEO for 10 years. You're under constant scrutiny. There's massive regulatory requirements to run a public company. And we had 0 violations. That's how you have to operate. And it's not just about the laws and the rules. It's about the attitude and the culture. And all of it needs to change.
So neighborhood councils is the backbone of our constituents and the stakeholders. They are the bridge with the city. But however, how will you ensure that neighborhoods across the valley, West Side, South LA, and harbor areas feel equally represented?
Yeah, people are talking about the East Side, the West Side, South LA, East LA, the Valley. We're one city. I would be the mayor of Los Angeles, not the West Side of Los Angeles or the East Side of Los Angeles. I'd be the mayor of Los Angeles. Talent is equally distributed in this city. Opportunity needs to be equally distributed. Access needs to be equally distributed. Transit opportunities need to be equally distributed. We can't have pockets that are protected and other pockets that are abandoned. We should not have food deserts in 2026 in a city like Los Angeles. We can do better. And I would ensure that happens and people are treated well everywhere in Los Angeles.
Adam, you personally played a very important and major role in investment and developing new businesses that made a very deep contribution and a change. Would you support banning developer contributions to elected officials and independent expenditure committees?
I'm completely fine with that personally. And I think we need to do whatever is required to avoid this lack of transparency and lack of accountability, and quite frankly, corruption. If we look at some of the indictments and some of the historic convictions, they tend to be tied to real estate deals.
Yeah.
So clearly, one of the issues we have in this city is around gifting and behaviors associated with real estate. And we have to be above that. We cannot be a city that is kowtowing to particular developers or particular projects. And we can't have government officials that think it's okay to take bribes and to take payoffs. It's just not appropriate and not acceptable. And I wouldn't allow it in my administration.
What do you say to residents who feel the city is no longer working for them?
I would say I agree with you. This city does not work. We are, again, paying some of the highest taxes in the country, and yet not delivering on the most basic services that you would expect in a city. Public safety, streets and infrastructure, housing, eradicating problems like homelessness. We are not doing well. Even around education, we could be doing much, much better. Workforce development, the vibrancy of our parks and beaches and mountains, all can be better. We're not delivering. We have not been delivering results, and we can do better.
And why should voters trust you to lead Los Angeles through its current challenges?
Because I've tackled many very difficult challenges and delivered real results across many different social issues and many different areas. Whether we're talking about education or veterans or disasters or voluntary health issues or homelessness, housing. And these are all issues facing LA, and we can do much better.
And your final message to the voters of Los Angeles?
We need a city that works better so all Angelenos can live better. I have extensive experience managing complex budgets, operations, and organizations across multiple disciplines, and I can make this city work better. So come to votemiller.com and join us.
So Mayoral Candidate Adam Miller, thank you for sharing your vision for the future of Los Angeles. The choices ahead will shape our neighborhoods, our safety, and our quality of life for years to come. I am Mihran Kalaydjian. Stay informed, stay engaged, and together, let's get to the bottom line of what truly matters for our city. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.